morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Fred Daou. I'm the Canadian manager for the vehicle refinish business here at AkzoNobel. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining us here online for this virtual training session. I hope you are all doing well and your families are doing well and staying safe and through these very challenging times. And you know, certainly as part of staying safe, we would love to have you at our facility here, and it's great that we'll be able to walk you through the facility and talk to you through this virtual session. But it would have been great to have you here. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do this at this point in time, so I think this is our next best way of doing this. As Sad indicated, we began our journey with Tropicana Services back in 2017 when Colin Welsh from Carstar came to us and asked us to host Tropicana Day. And of course, we jumped right in, and we're happy to be part of the program. We're very excited to still be a part of the program, working with Tropicana Services and our partners, Carstar and 3M. With this, it's great. So glad to see everybody who's joined us. Thank you for joining us online. We'll try and make this as good and interactive of a session that we can. And I would say that you know, to all of you, when things you know, do get back to a point where we are traveling around, and we will, if you're interested in visiting the facility itself at that point, reach out to Suad. She'll coordinate it with Saad and with Pat, and we'll give you a live in-person walk around. But I think the team's done a good job today. You know, our teams, 3M, Carstar, are putting together a pretty good session for you. So I wish you all the best, and I'll hand it over to Marty Smith with Carstar. Marty, you're on mute, Marty.
Oh, you hear me now or no?
I can hear you, Marty.
All good?
Yeah.
Good morning. So I'm Marty Smith. I am the Ontario Zone Director for Carstar Collision and Glass. I have been in this trade for approximately 40 years, starting as a tech painter, moving through several management positions, joined Carstar about 7 years ago. A little bit about Carstar. We are the largest network of collision repair professionals in North America. We have approximately 650 stores, 300 of them being in Canada, and we've been around for about 2 decades now. So again, welcome everyone, and I will get to my presentation a little later on.
Terrific. Peter, can you give us a few introductory words, please?
Absolutely, yeah. Peter Wrong, and I'm with 3M. I handle the kind of the GTA area. And welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. We appreciate this. Obviously, better to be doing it in person. And thanks to the Akzo guys for putting this together. Really appreciate that. We do our demos better in person, but we'll just do a quick spiel a little bit later about what 3M is, how we got there, and what we kind of do for you guys. So thanks for joining.
Thank you. So hopefully you're back. You want to give us some introductory words before?
Yes, before I get disconnected again, I'll just wanted to say thank you so much for having Tropicana class of 2020. We are so grateful for the opportunity to learn and grow in the collision industry. We were awarded with the contract for the automotive collision program 2009, and our first class was in April. The spring of 2010, and ever since we've been in the community helping young persons get into the industry. The program each year takes 20 students, and we hope that we find them a career. It's great to have a job, but at this point, a career is what we're setting for. We want to have individuals who are so eager to do level 1, 2, and 3. And with your support and the learning that we hope to achieve, hopefully one day these young people will come back and contribute to community. So thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support you're giving us. Yes. Sorry, I didn't want to get cut off. I just said.
That's all right. Thank you so much. So my name is Pat Ryan. I'm with AkzoNobel, and I'm the services consultant here for Ontario. I also look after Manitoba and Saskatchewan. I'll be one of the 3 hosts for your virtual tour here today. My other 2 hosts are Randy and Dave, and I'm going to get them to introduce themselves here.
Hello and welcome. I'm Randy Hurd. I'm the technical instructor here at the AkzoNobel Toronto Training Center. Dave.
Hi guys, my name is Dave Willie. I'm account manager for AkzoNobel, and my territory is Ontario. Hope you guys enjoy this tour, and I think you're going to find it interesting. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. So Randy and I are going to be the primary hosts of our tour here. So I'm just going to start doing a walkthrough, and Randy's going to give us a tour of the facility. So as you can see, we're being very socially conscious here and distancing ourselves so that we're not crossing paths. And hopefully you enjoy the tour. Just be advised that, you know, I'm doing this manually, so hopefully it's not too shaky, but Randy, take it away.
All right, let's move this way here. That'll be fun for you. As we move into here, this is our main boardroom. This would be used for facilitating meetings, possible trainings. I don't use this room particularly because it's because of the size of it. It's used for larger type trainings and meetings and that. This is something Pat would end up using.
Correct. So I've used this particular room on many occasions to teach various AkzoNobel courses to larger groups, groups of 15 to 20. This is where we host our meetings. Pre-COVID, of course, we would never be able to squeeze that many folks into this room during this pandemic, unfortunately.
All right, so let's just do a quick tour here of the building. Obviously, this is Fred's office. There's Fred sitting on there watching.
Wave, Fred.
As we move along, again, these are all just offices that for the people that work here. And I think you'll see as we go by, they're all dark right now because all these people are ending. They're all working from home because of basically what's been happening in the last few months. When we are here, we do social distance the best we can, as Pat and I are doing right now. All right, so let's make our way along. Okay, one way on, that's Dave Willie's office.
We just met Dave a few moments ago.
This is our kitchen cafeteria in here, which when I do a training class would be used to have lunch. I would usually cater in lunch. When we do our break time in there, there'd be coffee, tea, whatever you like. In my office, and we have one more boardroom, smaller. This will accommodate up to about 10, maybe 12 people max, which would be used more for internal meetings, maybe a distributor or whatever. But
or if I have a session with 1 or 2 of our customers only, we would do it in here.
In here, right? Okay. So moving along.
Now we're going to get to some of the really fun stuff.
Well, now we get to my area. All right. So this is the classroom. Here at AkzoNobel, we do different types of trainings for our different product lines. All trainings consist of classroom study and then also hands-on portion as well. So this is where all the classroom study would take place. You'll probably see as Pat moves around the room, we have a lot of our different product lines here. We have props on the wall. All of this is used for training purposes. All right. These multicolored panels on the wall are basically this is from our premium paint line seconds. These are all the toner shades. And then as we go down, these are let down with, this side is let down with metallic. So it kind of shows you the different characteristics of the paint toner.
So paint is kind of like chemistry, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is.
There's a lot of science involved in
There's
paint.
science involved, right?
Yeah.
You can't just try and say, I want to mix
There's,
the color.
there's no such thing as black. There's like a million shades of black, right? Exactly.
Very right there. So
Oh,
okay.
who's this guy up on the wall?
that gentleman there, I'm sure some of you may have seen his TV show called Bitchin' Rides. That's Dave Kindig, who partnered with AkzoNobel probably, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. That partnership, they developed a custom paint line called Modern Classics, which Dave uses on all his car restorations. And when it comes to car restores, this gentleman does it right.
He's the best.
All right.
What's this cabinet we see up here, Randy?
This here is, it's called the Sickens Color Scala Pro Visual Color Dock, right? So how this would work is we would, once we're looking for a paint code, right? We know the car manufacturer, it would tell us what deck to go into to find that paint code. So if I look at this, I just grab one here, General Motors. So right here we have, so this code here we look at is for General Motors, right? W88624, which has been in production now for probably, 20 years. It's still in production, I believe.
So it's a popular white for them.
It's a popular white, okay? So it would have a visual of the standard and then different variations of that standard that are slightly, a slightly different shape.
I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up, but how many different variations do you have there, Randy?
I have, right now, I have 12 variations from the standard.
On a color of white.
On a color of white.
So that's 12 whites.
That's 12, well, that's 13 whites. Right?
That have the same code.
Same code.
That's crazy.
Right, and that basically happens because the longer a color is being used in the market by the OEM, the OEMs use different paint manufacturers, right? They use different paint factories, and different locations around the world. So that's why we get variant drift from the standard.
So more science involved.
Of course, yeah. And then we have to try and come up with a formula to match that.
There you go.
All right.
What do we got over here?
What we have here, again, some props. Some of these things we're still using. This is what we call our digital color, our digital prep kit. This digital prep kit consists of a polisher and compounds and some sandpaper and that we would use to prep a panel before we actually do a color measurement with this color tool. So there's two ways we can retrieve or search a color, right? We can use visual color dot or we can use digital tool, all right? So this digital tool, that's my preferred way of getting a color because of the software that it uses. There's more options within that software for color formula. It also has the ability to slightly adjust a color if need be. It can actually make a color sometimes also from nothing.
So the eye in the camera is better than the human eye, I think is what you're saying.
Of course,
there
right?
You go.
This is a scientific tool.
Gotcha.
Okay, so AkzoNobel started back using digital 1993. So this would be the first generation camera. You can see the size of this thing. It's big, it's heavy, but in 93, that's what they started. Digital thing, that's that. How many years would that be?
27 years.
27 years, all right. Then in 2007, they went to a second generation. These are called spectrophotometers, right? So you can see it's gotten smaller, it's gotten lighter, and then in 2015, they went to the newest model, which is very, very light, very maneuverable, and way more scientific than these ones here.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
What are these little devices behind you here?
Well, these here.
Yes.
This is the 3M sun gun. So a 3M sun gun is used to evaluate color, right? So you need proper lighting to look at color. Fluorescent lighting doesn't offer the right light spectrum, right? So these lighting tools try and mimic sunlight as best as possible, right? So sunlight basically consists of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet light. Okay, so if you've ever noticed a rainbow, right, you'll see these different colors in there, and that's what white light is. Sorry, and that's what these lighting tools try to mimic as best as possible, because it's not always possible to put a car outside and look at.
Right. Well, a little shout out to our friends from 3M for such a great tool.
Thank you, guys.
Props, again, you know, talking about it is one thing, but when you actually see it step by step, you tend to understand it.
So here in the classroom, when students are looking at these props, they can visualize what the repair stages look like. Cool, excellent. Now we're going to get into the really cool stuff. Oh, before we go into the training facility, what's this here?
Well, again, there's another prop that this is a color wheel again, and it's got all the 3 primary and 3 secondary colors, as I just mentioned. What sunlight is, or what white light is. So again, we use it as a training tool when we're doing color training.
Awesome.
All right.
Hi, before you guys leave, I had one quick question.
Go ahead.
Sure.
The cameras that can identify colors, to what extent do they identify colors? Does it return like a hex code, or can it tell you, that's 1993 Nissan Cherry Red?
Yeah, yes, it can, depending how you search the color. If you do an open search, again, quite often it will choose a car manufacturer. It'll tell you a year or the year,
the range,
used, and it actually give you a paint code.
Yeah. So to further answer the question, the camera is linked to the paint code library that we have.
Yes, within our software program.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent question. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. As we move into here, this is where the hands-on part of the training takes place.
This is the fun zone, right?
This is where the fun is. Yeah. We've laid this training shop out to try and mimic what a paint shop would look like in an actual body shop. All right.
So what's our first stop on the tour?
First stop. So what we have here, this is a small spray booth that we use for doing color adjustment class. All right. So when we do the color adjustment class, this is where it would happen. Again, we would take a spray out card, we would prime it or seal it, a color shade, and then we would paint it. And then in the end, we would end up with this. Sometimes we have to maybe match a color for a customer, because maybe it's a new color in the market and we've come across a variation that we don't have a formula for yet. So then it would come down to myself to try and match that color. So,
in the actual body shop environment, what would the painter do with this spray out card that you've just showed us here?
he would take that once it was done, and then he would take it to the car and he would take a look and compare the color with the spray out to the car to make sure that the color is good enough for the repair.
And normally they take one of those 3M sun guns with them.
They would use a 3M gun. We're going to be showing a video shortly, and you'll see all of that throughout the video.
Cool. Excellent.
Okay, as we move along. This is our paint mixing and storage room. Here we have 3 different product lines. We have a couple more in the back. Actually, I don't have enough room in here. When we are mixing paint, whether it be color, primers, clear coats, and that, we would turn on an extraction fan to vent out all of the solvents that are in the air.
It's very loud, which is why we don't have it turned on now.
Not that loud, but it's loud enough. We don't need that in the background. Again, scales that we would use to create a formula, right? Spray gun cabinet that we could have an assortment. Spray guns, we have all the latest gun manufacturers in there.
The tools of your trade, basically.
Tools of a trade of a painter, for sure. Okay, good. Moving along. This is our main spray booth. And as you can see, Dave is in that spray booth. He's getting the fender ready to spray. So
all right,
I'll open this up for you, Pat. You can walk in there.
Thank you. Hey, Dave, long time no see.
So, how you doing?
Terrific.
Good. What happens in here is basically this is where we spray the car shell. So what Dave's doing is getting the car shell ready. He's going to, myself included sometimes, when we have spare time, we like to come in here and we like to still spray. We're still painters by heart, and we like to come in here, do some practicing, maybe spray some new products, maybe some new procedures. You'll also notice that the equipment that Dave has on, the protective equipment, right? He's wearing all the proper equipment here to protect himself from the chemicals that he'll be exposed to within the paint, very much like what a frontline worker would be wearing in a hospital right now, dealing maybe with a COVID patient.
So tell us a little bit about your equipment, Dave.
Well, obviously I've got my gloves, suit. This is a portable pump that straps onto your back, and there's filtration inside it. And what it does is it feeds up through this hose and it pressurizes this mask. And it's all filtered through here. It's all filtered through the sides, so I'm not breathing in any of the contamination that we would have when we use the spray guns and apply product. In here, when we do the training, we have air lines that each guy will hook up to, so we have 4 to
So it's the same apparatus, but using a hose rather than your portable pack.
What this does is it frees up radiator and stuff, and we can move around freely.
Right.
Good. And if you were here today, you'd all be suited up with that fresh air equipment and paint suit and painting, getting the chance to paint a fender.
You'd be using one of these things and we'd be having lots of fun.
So Dave, just give us 30, 40 seconds of what you're doing with this panel here.
So what we've done here is we did a small repair. We put the UV primer on it. And what I'm going to be doing here with the base coat is I'm going to be practicing a reverse blending technique. And what that will do is blend out the base coat without bringing it to the fender or to the door, or to the door, sorry. And we'll blend it out nice and smooth so that the transition is beautiful and you won't see it.
So in technical terms, we call this keeping the repair within the panel.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Right. Excellent.
It'll be a seamless repair. You never see it. Your eye won't see it.
Fantastic.
Sure.
Thank you, Dave.
One more thing I'd like to mention is whatever industry you end up getting into, wearing the proper equipment is a must, right? You have to make sure you wear the proper safety equipment to keep yourself safe. So, or else you won't last long in that industry.
100% agreed, Randy. Very, very important. I was lucky because the mentors that I had growing up when I first started in the shops were all very safety oriented. So at that time, the PPE was a little bit different, but we definitely used the best that we could use at the time. It's obviously evolved a lot, so very safe now.
Well, you look like you could be a frontline worker in a healthcare facility. That's how safe you look.
Protect me from you too.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks, David.
All right, so we'll move along here. These are what are called prep stations. So this is where the car shells will be sanded and masked. While that's happening, we'll actually turn on the extraction system, so you'll get a fresh air coming in through the ceiling filter, and then all the sanding dust will be exhausted through the filters on the back wall there. We also have a sanding extraction system here for dust as well. Again, most body shops will have prep stations. Maybe not all have a dust extraction system, but a lot of them are starting to go that route. it keeps the dust down. It also keeps a nicer environment for the technicians that are working in it.
As we say in the business, the cleaner the shop, the cleaner the finished product, which is a painted car. Exactly. Cool. What's this little guy over here?
This here is very similar to the dust extraction system we have there. That's a fixed system. This is a portable system. This is from 3M. And this system here is also a dust extraction sanding system that it's portable. It can be moved around the shop to different stations. If a shop doesn't have maybe a fit system, this is what a lot of them will end up getting 2 or 3 of these units for them in the shop.
Right.
And keep the dust down and keep it healthy.
There's like a high power vacuum down in the bottom.
There is a high powered vacuum.
Right on. Cool.
Okay, so we go along. Tops again, we use these. This is all used for trainings.
Right. Now, here's something that I use quite frequently. This is called the Carbeat software board. And as you can see, it's a big giant TV screen. And we have customers throughout Canada that use this particular tool as a production tool. And basically, every one of these colored squares represents a car inside the shop. And when a car moves from one repair station to the next, the technician basically walks up and drags and drops the car tile into a new zone. So Randy, if you could drop one tile for me, please. There we go. So the board gets updated, and now everyone knows that that particular vehicle has moved on in production. It's a pretty cool tool. So that pretty much concludes our tour. We've got one more giant prop here, and that's an old car cut in half that we have mounted on the wall with all kinds of cool paint tricks applied to it. You can see some of the cool things that Randy and his colleagues have done to this shell. It's kind of neat. All righty. So give me 1 second here. Any questions on some of the elements of the shop? Time to yell out a question. If not, we'll carry on.
Yeah, I have a question on painting carbon fiber. Are you guys, do you guys have anything towards that?
Hang on 1 second. I'm going to reverse the camera and let Randy speak. Painting carbon fiber.
Yes. So painting carbon fiber is really no different than painting fiberglass, right? It's the same procedure. We just, you prime it, sand it, and just spray it. So
it's all about the preparation, isn't it?
It's all about preparation, yes. So sometimes carbon fiber is not painted, it's just clear coated. So again, the carbon fiber would be sanded, and then we would spray clear coat over top of it. There are special clear coats for carbon fiber. It's very, very expensive. So most shops would not go that route.
But it really brings out the depth of the carbon fiber.
Yes, it does. But again, there's different qualities of carbon fiber as well. Right. Some of it is the stuff that you would just be putting clear coat on top of has to be a very high quality carbon fiber. Some of the other carbon fibers that are going to be colored, that are going to be covered by color, don't have to be as good a quality, right? Because then the primer fills all those imperfections.
Right.
So there's different grades of carbon fiber.
Excellent. Any other questions?
I have another question, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
So you guys were talking, like I've seen a lot of the paint guns you have, and what are some of your favorite brands?
Oh, so I'll answer this and I'll let Randy answer. Basically, it's a personal preference thing from what I understand. And I'm not actually a painter. I'm one of the few people in this building who's never painted for a living. And but I've been to enough shops where painters fall in love with a specific gun, and that's what they use. So Randy, I'll let you take it away.
Exactly. I don't have a true favorite. What might be a favorite this year is not a favorite next year because there's a newer gun that's come out, maybe by a different gun manufacturer. For me, what's important is how it feels in my hand and the spray pattern that it's putting out for me.
Now, I noticed when I watch you spray here at the training center, you have a different gun for primer and a different gun for color and a different gun for clear. Can you explain how that works?
You definitely, spray guns work by fluid tip size. So for primers and sealers and that, you need a slightly bigger fluid tip size. So I have one separated for that. For color, again, a different fluid tip. And then for clear coats, a different tip as well. I also separate the guns so I don't get cross-contamination between the different products when the guns get cleaned up properly.
And just as a note to that, there's different cleaning processes for different guns with different materials.
Waterborne versus solvent-borne, yes, there's different cleaning processes as well. So I always separate the guns to keep things simplified in the training center, and so do most painters do in the body shops too. So.
Cool. Any other questions?
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Do you feel like the equipment that we would be using to sand and paint and so on, do you think they are heavier on the side for females to handle?
Heavy for ladies to handle.
Not necessarily, no, because the sanders aren't very heavy at all for sanding. Spray guns, again, there are different size spray guns. That's, DeVilbiss has one called the Technoprolite, which is a very lightweight gun, which personally for me doesn't fit my hand very good because I have a big hand and the gun body is a little bit small. So if I do a class and there's and I have females in the class, then I tend to go more to that type of a spray gun so that it's easier for them compared to maybe a SATA gun that's a bigger gun body and it's a much heavy, maybe it's an extra pound of weight. So things like that. So
can you also,
okay,
now that we have a little interest here, the ladies that come to your class, can you give us a little background on how many ladies have been through and how they perform inside the class?
Well, the ladies, to be honest, actually, usually they listen better than the guys do, for one. They follow instruction better than the guys do. I'm not saying all guys, but for the most part, they do a good job in the industry. And you know what? Whether it's sanding a car or painting a car, there's no difference whether it's a guy or a girl, right? Painting the car. You're both capable of doing the same job, right? Looking at color, same thing, right? So we have a lot of women starting to get into the industry, right? Because
in the last 5 or 8 years, there has been a lot of ladies that have joined the trade, which is awesome.
And the industry is very clean today. If you get in the right shops, the industry is very clean. Again, they're using all the right equipment to keep the dust down. You got the proper safety equipment that you're wearing. So it's not like the environment when I started in the body shop industry many years ago. It was, when I started, it was very, very dusty, and you didn't have proper safety equipment. And so on.
Things have improved.
I don't mind getting dirty. It's just I wanted to make sure I'm going to be able to handle the machines.
Sure you can. You're there again. We've had some, I don't know how big you are, but we've had some
dainty ladies,
some very small women come in here and
okay.
No issues. And they're working in those shops and they're doing it every day.
Yeah.
So
all right, thank you so much.
They're very good technicians as well. When I see the work they're doing in the shops that I visit, they're doing an awesome job. So it's fantastic.
I have just one
we
question.
got another question or two. Anybody got a question for Randy?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, can you please explain to us briefly how does the camera work?
The camera.
The camera. Okay, so the camera basically. I'll let Dave get it. Bring it over. Pass it over. Just hang on one second.
Sorry for that.
Michaela, we can do it, okay?
All right, very quickly.
Yes, we got this.
The camera, I guess, as I said, is a scientific tool. So it works off light refraction, right? So basically what it does is it has a little ring there. So when we put it on a panel like this to measure a color, right? it seals off any light that from entering and escaping, and then it will measure the color at 3 different angles. Within the software, depending on the paint line we've selected to use, it knows all the toner values or toner characteristics, so it's able to choose the correct color. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it can even adjust a color, maybe because, again, the vehicle is, maybe it's a variation of a color, and that vehicle is maybe an older vehicle starting to fade from sunlight. So it takes all of that into account.
Yeah.
So that's why this is my favorite colors.
And as you mentioned earlier, it takes your eye out of the equation, and it allows the camera to do all the hard lifting.
Of course, because humans, most people do not see color the same way, right? So what you might see as a good match, the person next to you might see as a slightly different match. So this takes all those variables away. Again, we cannot see color the same way this does. This is what all our, when we develop color in our color labs, this is what they use. They use a bigger camera and a more sophisticated camera than this, but this is what they use. They don't use human eye no more.
Right. Cool. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Fantastic. Anyone else with a quick question? No? All right. So, Randy, tell us what you do here.
Well, I've been with AkzoNobel now for 14 years. My main job here is to facilitate training. So when I'm here at the training center, where I'll do training classes. Sometimes I'll do a training class maybe at one of our distributors in their boardroom. We also use the training colleges out because my territory is Ontario and the Maritimes. So I'll use training colleges in the Maritimes because we don't have a training center out east. And so I'll do that. I may go into a customer's shop. Maybe they've got a new painter that they've just hired that doesn't know our paint line and they need immediate training. I'll go in there and I'll do a couple of days training with them. And there, maybe we have a new customer that's just switched to one of our paint product lines. And I'll go in there also for training purposes. I also have to maintain this. Sometimes it's making standard operating procedures for the shop. There's a number of things, testing equipment. There's a number of things I do, but you know,
that's
you get the point, I think.
So without any exaggeration, Randy has the best job in the company.
I like to think I have one of the best jobs. So, one of the most fun jobs.
You have the keys to the candy store. How could you not like that?
I thought you said yeah.
Dave.
Hey guys, my name's Dave Woolley, as I introduced myself earlier. I'm an account manager. So we, account managers, we wear several hats. One of our focus is on new business and sales. So we go out and prospect shops that aren't using our products and try to get new business that way. One of the other things we do for existing customers, we sell our paint through distribution. So we support the distribution in that sales part of it. As far as technical, I'll do a fair bit of that as well because of the experience I've had in the industry. So do a lot of stuff like that. I'll develop, as Randy was saying, SOPs, the standard operating processes in the shops. I'll work with the painters. I'll work with the preppers in the shops, management. So wear a few different hats. There's 3 of us in Ontario, so we try to work together as a team the best we can. And we find we give a lot more support that way. So that's pretty much what I do.
Cool. So just for everyone's knowledge, distribution are companies that actually sell our paint to the body shops. Right. We don't sell direct to body shops. We have companies that do that on our behalf. So that's what Dave means by distribution. So cool. Thank you, Dave. Hello again. My name is Pat Ryan. And I mentioned back at the beginning, I'm the services consultant for Ontario and also Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And services consultants are folks that work in the front of the body shop, working with the owners and the managers and the estimators and the
customer service representatives. So basically everything except for production. These gentlemen here with me are production experts, and I am the front office expert. So my job is to help out shops to be more efficient and more profitable, and to create the environment for the technicians to do the absolute best repairs that they possibly can to satisfy their customers. So that's kind of, you know, in a nutshell, what a services consultant does. So basically, I'm the guy with the clean hands. These are the guys that have had dirty hands in the past and have somewhat clean hands now. Exactly. Cool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you a video, and I apologize up front because when I did a run through of this, the video was just a little laggy because of our connection here. And Randy's going to do a voiceover for this video, and basically it's going to show you the repair process from start to finish in a small repair. So if you can envision that car we had in the booth, this is going to be the same sort of thing. It's about 7 minutes long, and again, I apologize for the quality of the video up front, but our friend Randy is going to narrate this. So give me 1 second here to set this up, and we'll get Randy to do our narration for us. So. And so. All right, Randy, you're up.
Up and going. Okay. As Pat mentioned, this is about a 7-minute video of a complete repair process using some of AkzoNobel's most innovative products from their premium line, paint line called Seconds. Okay. These products all cure dry from ultraviolet light, as you're going to see. Okay, so the first, basically what's happening here is the technician that's going to do the repair is inspecting the damage. Right now he's cleaning and polishing the panel very close to where the damage is, because he's going to take a measurement reading of the color before he starts the repair. There you go. Once he gets the measurement reading from the software, he mixes it, and then he'll do a spray out card, and then he will check the spray out card against the car using 3M sun gun like we saw earlier in the classroom here to check the color, make sure it's good enough for the repair. What he's basically doing now is masking and mask stop bordered around the repair. He's removed all the paint area around the area that requires body filler so it sticks properly. Block sanding right now with a flat sander to make sure it's nice and level. Once that happens, now he'll start sanding beyond the repair with a finer paper to make sure all the panels are deglossed and he gets proper adhesion for his primer surfacers. Now he's doing a full mask of the vehicle. The full masking of the vehicle is also going to keep all the overspray and dust off the rest of the vehicle. And then he does a quick outline mask to control the primer overspray. Now he's mixing the primer, UV primer, on a scale to make sure it's accurately mixed. And then with UV, we use black cups because clear cups, which what most paint is put through, is subjected to UV light, which can cause the product to start to harden up in the cup. Now he's blowing around the repair, and he's going to apply 2 coats of primer. So he'll put the first coat on, and then he'll allow for a slight flash time in between the 2 coats to allow for the paint chemicals and some of the solvent to escape and the product to set. And then he puts on the second coat, as you can see here. Once that's primed, again, it'll go through a short flash, and he will be setting up
a UV light around the repair to start the curing process or drying process, right? As he moves the light in, there you go. He's also going to be probably shielding. Yes, he's shielding off the front of the vehicle with a UV shield to protect any other technicians that are working close to that vehicle from the UV rays. Once it's dry, which is usually about 2 to 3 minutes, he'll block sand and then sand the primer flat. Little hand sanding on some of the edges. Blows it clean. Of course, he's going to rewash the panels with a special solvent-borne or a special cleaner, like you saw Dave in the booth earlier, to remove all contaminants, right? And now he's going to spray his color. Once the color is dried, usually color takes 2 to 3 coats. Once it's dry, now he's going to mix up his clear coat. Again, on the scale, making sure that it's mixed accurately so that the product performs the best it can. And by the looks of this, these two are mixed at equal parts, 1 to 1. All right. Stir the hardener into the clear coat. Again, black UV cup. And then he will apply 2 coats of clear coat. All our clear coats are designed for 2 coats. Okay, here you see them. Okay, so he'll do 2 full coats on both panels, and that will give him the proper gloss and also will give him UV holdout against sunlight for fading down the road. So again, clear coat, like primer, requires a slight time in between to let the solvents escape. And there we go. Final coat of clear. There we go. Looks beautiful. And then he will put the UV lamp around it again to cure it. Again, it'll cure very, very quickly, being UV. Just think of if you go to the dentist to have a filling done and they use a UV filler in to fill your tooth. That little UV light, how quick it happens. All right, so once the vehicle is dry, final unmasking and cleaning of the vehicle, final inspection of the vehicle, right? And there we go. We got an invisible repair that looks like it was never in an accident before. Okay, back to Pat.
Well, thank you, Randy. That was fantastic. Any quick questions on Randy's repair video?
Yes, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Randy mentioned that your paint is designed for just 2 clear coats. If you were to add more, let's say 3 or 4 coats, would there be any side effects or no?
Hang on 1 second.
No, there wouldn't be any side effects. The only time you would apply more coats of clear is if you were going to maybe water sand and polish that car to get a custom show car finish, right? Otherwise, there's really no need to apply more than 2 coats of clear to a vehicle. Today, the clear coats are all high solids, and the 2 coats offers more than enough UV protection and gloss required, right?
But as you mentioned, in some applications for show type cars, or
because they're going to water sand that clear coat flat and then they're going to polish it, then they'll apply an extra coat Sometimes 4 coats, very rare. Usually it's 3 coats they would put because they're probably going to sand off 1 coat of clear, get it nice and flat. So when they polish it, it's like a mirror.
So one of the downsides of having too many coats of clear is chipping.
Well, sure, there's too much mill thickness for sure,
Yeah.
right? But most show cars don't
see the road.
Don't see the road that much, right?
Exactly.
So,
Any other questions for Randy on the video?
You got a question?
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to talk over somebody.
Go ahead.
Just curious. So, like, usually when you polish a car, the paint is very soft. Like, even taking a fresh rag to it could scratch it. After the paint booth, how tough is the paint?
How long does the paint cure? How long does it take for the paint to properly cure? And how come sometimes clear coat will appear soft? It was kind of a multi-part question.
well, there could be a number of reasons, right? Again, time of year, right? If it's in the winter months and the shop is cool, clear, and it hasn't been put through a bake cycle, clear coats will take longer to cure. You know, clear coats normally can sometimes they take months to totally evaporate all solvents, right? But in a shop process, if the vehicle gets the clear coat gets baked, normally it can be polished a couple hours later. Sometimes it will still scratch because it's still a little bit soft, but the longer a clear coat sits, the harder it'll get. If you take a vehicle that's been painted 30 days ago and we go and try and water sand and polish that, it's gonna be a lot more difficult than one that was done, you know, the day before.
So you mentioned baking. We didn't talk about this when we were in the booth, but at what temperature do you turn the booth up to when you're trying to bake that final 2 coats of clear?
Okay, well, normally we would set a booth temperature around 160 Fahrenheit, which in Celsius is, what is that?
Hot.
It's hot, okay. So most spray booths work off Fahrenheit. So, and then it would bake for roughly 30 minutes, depending on the clear coat mixture we're using, the speed, whether it's a faster clear, a medium clear, or slower clear. Slowers require a little bit longer bake times. Again, all clear coats don't have to be baked. Clear coats, because there's a hardener that goes into the clear coat, that hardener basically works through a chemical reaction for the product to cure. When you give it heat, the more heat that the product has, the faster the molecules spin within the system and the faster the chemical reaction happens. So basically that's what shops do to move vehicles through that spray booth at a fairly consistent rate, is they use heat to get them out quick.
Right.
Okay,
cool.
that's how they do production.
Any other questions for Randy before we move on?
How long would that whole job take from start to finish in the video?
The job, that job that he did there using UV, he would have that done in probably 2 to 3 hours. 2 hours, I would say. Yeah, start to finish, 2 hours.
It was a small 2-panel repair, light scratches, so no body work was necessary other than filling in.
A little body work. That's the nice thing with UV primer, because they're UV products because they're so fast. So that whole repair probably took 2 hours.
Yeah.
So 2 hours for like one piece on one part. For that part, I mean.
Well, there was 2 different panels on that Volkswagen. There was a fender and a door. So the number of panels isn't nearly as critical as the extent of the damage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Because it was just a small body repairs. You only had a small primer repair. The sanding happens very, very quickly. So does the masking, color.
There was only about 10 extra minutes to do the second panel in that particular video. Yeah.
So, yeah. But my guess would be about 2 hours.
2 hours.
Pat,
Any other questions?
can you please share the link for the video?
Yes, we will be sharing it in the email that we sent to Suad.
Okay, perfect.
So you get to watch the video with actual music and without lagginess.
Thanks.
Cool. So we're going to move on, and this last little segment here at AkzoNobel is some testimonials from some of us. So Randy, since the camera's on you, why don't you kind of give us a history of how you got here?
Oh, okay. Well, I started in the business, I guess let's say, all right, so I started hanging around body shops when I was probably 9 or 10 years old. My father used to have a body shop, so I would go in there on Saturdays to just kill some time and wait around for the coffee truck to show up and get some donuts and whatever. And, you know, yeah, he'd make me sweep the floor a little bit, but how good's a 9 or 10-year-old do it, right? So, but I continued to hang around through the years. In later years, my father ended up selling the body shop and went to work for a dealership body shop, where I would also go and hang out there in my summer holidays, and I'd have a summer job doing some sanding and masking and learning the trade. By the time I got out of high school, I guess it was in 1977, so that's 43 years in the industry, right?
My goodness.
Yeah, so to learn to paint was probably just before that. Back in those days, in the early 70s, I'm talking, there was no such thing as car rental companies. So what body shops used to do back then is they would buy at the auction retired police cars, right? And then they would paint those police cars different colors, and then they would give those to the customers that had their cars in their shop getting repaired for something to drive. Well, I learned how to paint on those police cars, right? You made a little run here or a dry spot there, you know, they didn't have to be perfect, but I learned from my mistakes, right? So then by the time I got out of high school, my father was now a body shop manager at this dealership, and his painter was getting older and wanting to retire. So my dad asked me if I would be interested in taking over the position. So naturally, I said yes. You know, going to university wasn't for me. I wasn't the best. I wasn't a high school scholar. So, you know, I got through high school, but getting out into the field and working on cars, that's what I wanted to do. So that's the route I chose. So again, I still had a little bit of learning to do. My father mentored me while I was still learning the trade as a painter. He was an ex-painter years back, and till I was ready to take over the reins. Okay, so that's, you know, and then like I said, I've been at this a long time. I've been with AkzoNobel for 14 years. 14 years ago, I decided to make the change from the painting part of the industry to the training part of the industry, and it's I love it. You know, I love passing on information and training younger painters and technicians, but I still love putting a spray gun in my hand and going into the spray booth like Dave was earlier and spraying a car. So,
look at the smile on his face as he describes it.
I'm a painter. I was a painter. You know, I'm still a painter at heart, and this is my passion. This is where I feel at home. And you know, yes, it's been hard work through the years, but the body shop industry has always provided me with a comfortable living. And if you decide to choose this path, whether it be a body man or a painter or whatever, it could be an estimator, I believe it can for you too as well. So, but again, nothing comes free. You have to work. So, okay, I think that's enough about me. So.
Thank you, Randy.
Is it my turn?
It's your turn, Dave.
What's your thing? Hi, guys. Yeah, so didn't start quite as early as Randy. I think I was 16 when one of the neighbors was repairing a car. So I was exposed to it at that time. And I was absolutely amazed that they could take a rust hole, weld a patch in, do their filler work, paint it, and you couldn't see it anymore. So I think from that point on, I was hooked. To Randy's point, I wasn't a huge high school lover, but I knew I had to get through it. and I did. And as soon as I was through that, I was into a shop for my first job. So I've been in the trade 42 years, 35 years working in a shop as a collision technician and painter. And then the last 7 years I've been with Akzo. So to Randy's point, the trade for me has been absolutely excellent. I've raised 4 children, so financially it's been very supportive for me. And now working for Akzo, I still get to paint cars and teach people. And so I think I have the dream job, to be honest with you. Marty Smith was introduced himself there earlier from Carstar. Marty and I worked for 15 years together on the shop. Marty got out of off the floor a little bit earlier than I did, but we actually worked together for I think over 15 years. So again, you know, my mentors growing up through the early years were always telling me to be the best I could be and work hard at it. And I can honestly say that you guys can do the same thing if you're interested in this trade. And there's so many different ways to go. When I first started, I didn't never imagine myself working for a paint company. I honestly didn't. But as we go through, you know, Marty's now working for Carstar. I'm working for Akzo. There's all different kinds of avenues that you can go through and go down. But to my point, it's been excellent for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Awesome. So my journey in the collision repair business is not too dissimilar from my 2 colleagues here, but my journey differs in that I never worked in the actual production side of the business. I've always been in the front office, as I mentioned earlier. So I started out as an estimator way back when. And the reason why I got this estimating job back in the early 90s was I was a computer geek. So back in the 80s, when I got out of high school, I was a computer nerd, and hard to believe, but you know, I was one of those crazy guys. I worked for Hewlett Packard back in the 80s, so solidified my nerd status way back then. And the first shop that hired me as a software trainer, because back in the early 90s, estimates were still being written with pen and paper. And so being a computer guy and knowing the shop owner, he said, why don't you come work for us and train my employees how to use computerized estimating software? So that's what I did. Computerized estimating software was just in its infancy back in the early 90s. And as a computer guy, they allowed me to write estimates for the shop and train all of my colleagues. So it was my introduction into the business. And I've worked for 2 software companies since then. I've worked for another group of shops since then. I've worked for Carstar, which my friend Marty works for now. I've worked for Fix Auto. I work for Aviva Insurance. I've done pretty much everything you can do in this business, except for work for paint companies. So 2 years ago, I was recruited by AkzoNobel to join the team as a services consultant. And now my journey in the collision repair business has come full circle, because I've pretty much had a hand in every single aspect of the collision repair supply chain and repair chain. So I find myself pretty fortunate for that. As Dave mentioned, you know, I've got 2 kids that I've put through university working in this business. It's just been a fantastic way for me to make a living. And I'm a car guy at heart, so I enjoy what we're doing. And as you saw Randy smiling, you know, when he's talking about being a painter and stuff, my passion is, you know, front office and software. And you saw my carbide board back in the training center, and that's one of my passions, is to help shops become, you know, the best they can be. We have one more colleague who wants to have a quick testimonial, and his name is Graham. Graham, are you with us? Unmute yourself if you are. Mr. Graham. Gosh, did we lose Graham? All right. So this is the conclusion of the AkzoNobel part of the tour. I'm going to hand it back to Suad. I think we're going to have a quick 10-minute break. And then when we come back, we're going to have Peter Rong from 3M do a quick presentation. And following that, we're going to have a quick presentation from Marty from Carstar. And that will conclude the webinar for today. So Suad, if I could get you to jump back in and give us a couple words before we take our break. Oh my gosh, did we lose Suad as well?
I'm here. Hi. Sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sorry. So I will introduce Peter. Is that what you?
So are we still going to take our quick 10-minute break, Suad?
Okay. Okay. Yes.
All right, so everyone take a quick 10-minute break, any bio breaks or anything you need. I'm going to queue up the presentation for Peter, and in exactly 10 minutes, we're going to kick Peter off. Not kick him off, we're going to let Peter kick off his presentation. So we'll see you all back in 10 minutes. Thank you. Hey, Sad. So you just have your slide deck, right, Peter?
Yeah, I'll just talk to that and ad lib a little bit as we go through, but yeah.
So just say next slide. I'll hit the mouse and it'll
Perfect.
Advance your slides for you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
No worries.
So I guess you've been a busy guy being the tech guy in these new times. Everybody needing tech now, right? So all these go-to meetings and Zoom meetings and
it's pretty crazy. So I think our team alone has probably done north of 60 webinars since the last week of March.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
That's extensive. Is this your go-to platform? The go-to meetings? Is that what you guys use the most?
Yeah, so I signed up for an account and it works pretty well. I mean, Zoom apparently has some security issues, and WebEx is a decent platform too. I wish our internet here was just a little bit better. It's a little jittery sometimes, but for the most part, it's pretty decent. So.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Yeah, there's all the different. We have two platforms that we use. Internally, we use Teams through Microsoft. That's like the new. That's the new Skype. So it used to be Skype, but now it's called Teams. And then externally, we use Zoom. Zoom does have security issues, but not through our server, because we have a corporate account that goes through our server that can't be hacked. But yeah,
so if you version then.
Yeah. Now, having said that, I'm sure the guy that owns Zoom is probably watching all corporate videos and trying to extract as much information as possible. But
yeah, no, it's kind of, you know, cool that we can do stuff like this, but I certainly miss having people in my boardroom or in my classroom, and Randy is lamenting the same thing. It's like, gosh, you know, we haven't had an actual training class with humans in the building here for 2 months now, and you know, he's going through withdrawals.
Yeah, it's good that you guys get to go to the facility, though. Have you guys always been able to go to the office, or is that new?
Well, the office is so big, we're like 10,000 square feet here.
Yeah.
But most days it's just me by myself. For the purposes of this, we got Fred and Randy and Dave to come in today, but we're keeping our distance. So my office is like 80 feet away from anyone else's office, so I'm already self-isolated just in my
you're
office.
good to go. Yep.
Yeah. So it works out pretty good.
Don't get to, we're not allowed in the office. It's closed. We're not allowed to go to shops. Nothing. They put a full ban on us, but hopefully that gets lifted soon. Getting a little stir crazy.
Well, as most folks are, right? I mean, I talk to customers every day, and you know, they're missing out on you know, all of the interaction with you know, people like us, you and me, and others in the business coming to visit them. Right? They're isolated as well.
Absolutely. No, yeah, you're right. And most of them are half the staff they had 2 months ago too, right? So not all of them, but most of the ones I've talked to have laid off half their staff right now. So,
which is unfortunate. I feel very badly for all those folks who've been laid off, because it's got to be a terrible time for those people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's not good.
Well, I think we'll give ourselves another minute or two, and then we'll kick off with you as our lead.
Yep, sounds good.
I just got a note here. Tony Mamoni, you're on the line.
I am. Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Tony.
My apologies. I'm getting used to the technology. I hit the wrong button and then requested to share my screen, but that is definitely not the case. Thank you so much for all the work that you're doing here this morning. I see Peter, I see yourself, Pat, Bradley up there on top. I know there's a few folks here from Carstar on and from AkzoNobel, but I wanted to just pop in and say this is a great initiative, and it's quite the treat to be a part of this morning. I'll turn it back over to you. Sorry about that, Ben.
That's okay. So just for everyone's info, Tony is a senior person at Carstar Canada, and he works along with Marty Smith, who you heard from earlier this morning, and wonderful gentleman in the business. So one more minute, and Peter, you're up. So get yourself prepared, sir.
Will do. Thank you.
And Marty, we'll be getting you to do your slide deck as soon as Peter's finished his presentation and taking any questions. All right, Marty? I'm just scrolling through all of the chat bubble stuff. Thank you all for typing in comments and stuff. That is awesome. Fantastic. All right, Peter. Introduce yourself again and take it away, sir.
Perfect, will do. Yes, once again, my name is Peter Wong, and I work for 3M. I work in the GTA area, along with a couple other colleagues that cover off the area. Obviously, the Toronto area is fairly large, so they have a few of us doing it. Basically, my role as sales is to cover off the body shops to ensure they're using the right products and they're using them correctly as well. I'm not a technician, unlike my AkzoNobel cohorts here. I did not start at a body shop. I do not know how to fix a car, probably never will know how. But I do know how our products are used on the car, and that's where I kind of come in. So we're going to go through a little bit of a presentation where I'll talk a little bit about some products, but more importantly, about who we are as a company. We started probably about 7 or 8 years ago on this venture of asking an internal question of, we used to always be known for many decades, known as an innovative company. Internally, we started to ask ourselves, what does innovation mean? And the short answer is no idea. Nobody really knows what innovation means, or it only means something if it applies to you. So this video that we're about to show just talks about who we are as a company and what it is that we're involved in. We've been around for 112 years, so we're not a new company. Hopefully be around for another 112. Or at least another 20 while I'm still around anyways. But we are involved in a lot of industries, as this video will show. So go ahead, Pat, and play the video. If it works.
I have my fingers crossed, so let's see if this will work for us.
Oh, no audio. We have video, but no audio.
I apologize, Peter. I'm going to try one more time, see if we can get the audio to work.
Yep. No, doesn't seem like it. Okay, that's okay. I can kind of talk to it anyways. It just shows some of the technologies that we're involved in. But basically, actually, you know, if you go to the next slide, I can just basically talk about it through the next slide. It's just a cool little you know, commercial type video that we had. But if you go to the next slide, it kind of highlights where we're in. So like I said, it started about 112 years ago, 3M. And what's interesting about our company, and more importantly, this division, we have many divisions, 29 divisions across many industries, as you can see there on this slide. But we actually started in the automotive / manufacturing industry. 3M was started, we actually invented modern day sandpaper. We didn't invent sandpaper per se. Sandpaper has been being used for, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of years. But the sandpaper we know of today on a paper backing on a sander, that was invented by us 112 years ago. So this industry is really near and dear to us. So we really focus a lot of R&D on products within this. And as Pat holds up some sandpaper, there you go. It didn't look like that 112 years ago, but yeah, now it does. But we really pride ourselves in being with, you know, all environments, and that's where we've gotten away from the innovation terminology and we've gone to the science applied to life. Because back to what I was saying earlier, who cares about neat science or neat innovation if it doesn't help you do anything in your life or in your world? So if you can see here, we have all the environments in which we do play a heavy part in. You know, we're very large in the healthcare world. There is a motto internally at 3M: you're never more than 8 feet away from a 3M product in the Western world, anyways. And that's a very accurate and true statement. It's not a lie. It's not a fabricated number. We just make so many products. You're literally never more than 8 feet away. We're in telephone technology, televisions. Somebody, I think it was Randy, mentioned UV lighting and fillers in your mouth for dental. that's 3M. We invented dental filling. I mean, that's our market, right? So we're literally in everything. So, but you know, we focus on obviously what we care about most, or I guess what I should say, what I care about most is the automotive side. So that's the organizations that we kind of touch as a company. But go ahead, next slide.
In my desk, I found something 3M branded as well as some Post-it notes. So your attitude is true.
Perfect. Well, like I said, your cell phone, you got your cell phone on you, right? So you're probably, there's something in that phone that's probably 3M too. So that's the easy one. And then the dental filling one's a big one too. If you have a dental filling and you're standing next to somebody that has one, that qualifies as the 3 feet, as the 8 feet. So, so here we go again, talking about science applied to life. And in our world, we really focus a lot of R&D on products for this particular division. Such things, you know, dating back a long time ago, 65 to 70 years ago, around then, we invented masking tape. So when you're masking up a car, and it was invented for the automotive world, and now we use masking tape in everything, you know, in your house, when you're painting your house, doing all kinds of things, but it was invented for the automotive industry 70 years ago. Now you also see lots of companies have it, so on and so forth. Plastic sheeting, which they show in the video when you're masking that car. That was a 3M innovation and 3M invention. Two really popular ones that are used on a daily basis today in the automotive world. It was panel bond. About 18 years ago, we invented panel bond. Up until then, you welded a panel onto the car. Well, who does that anymore, right? And when we first launched that product, I love talking to the reps that were around launching that product, panel bond. Technicians wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. There's no way they're gluing a panel onto a car. No way that's safe enough, so on and so forth. Now you won't find a technician that won't use panel bond to glue a panel onto a car, because welding is dangerous, time consuming, it's harder. So, you know, things like panel bond. And another popular invention that we came up with actually exactly 15 years ago, sorry, my apologies, 16 years ago, was the acronyms PPS, but Paint Preparation System, which are the cups that house the paint that go under the guns to paint the cars with. And one of the neat things about that invention, that like so many other inventions that we've come up with for the automotive industry, yes, it was developed and created, and, you know, we'll use, yep, that's it there, and developed and created and, you know, quote unquote invented by a PhD chemist guy from Cambridge University, which that's who actually did invent it, from a guy from England invented it for us. But that's not where the idea comes. He didn't come up with the idea for a paint cup system. A painter did. And that's really what's unique. What 3M does really well is we listen. I think that's the heart of all innovation is listening. So he asked one simple question to one painter. What's the thing you hate most about painting? That painter's response was, I hate cleaning out the cup. 2 years later, PPS was born. So he assumed, which was he was right. After hearing that from that painter, he thought to himself, well, if that painter's thinking that, all the others must think the same thing. So he went on a global mission and he asked thousands of painters around the world, what's the most thing you hate about painting? And the response was unanimous. It was cleaning the cup. So we invented PPS. So that's what's really key to us is the innovation, but applying it to real world scenarios to help you guys. What we really want to focus on is you get paid in time to do a job. We want to make it quicker for you and more importantly, easier. The quicker and easier it is for you, the quicker you get that job done, you make more money, the shop makes more money, so on and so forth. So now we'll talk about what it is I kind of do for you guys and where we really focus when it comes to the Tropicana program. 3M has been part of the Tropicana program now for, really it's 10 years roughly, doing these things with Akzo. Once again, thank you to the Akzo partners here for putting this together and the live sessions that we normally do, you know, prior to COVID at their facility. It's always a great day. And hopefully we can get back to doing that kind of stuff sooner rather than later. But next slide, if you could, Pat. And please, if there's any questions, ask away as we go. I've got time after, but So one of the things that I do for the Tropicana group is it is kind of an important thing. It helps you guys get, started out into the workforce as you get going. Is you need a mask. 3M. This presentation was kind of thought of prior, but 3M's been in the news lately. You've probably heard for our masks, being a global leader in respiratory protection. The heat has fallen on us a little bit to produce the masks. Unfortunately, from a company standpoint, we can only make so many. So we're doing our best. We have maximized production around the globe at 4 different facilities. We cannot make more, but we are making what we feel is enough anyways to supply the healthcare workers, the frontline workers, which is important. So what I do for you guys is I supply each and every member. Yeah, there's an N95 there that's needed. What we do is we supply an upgraded version, which Pat's holding up right now. So each one of you, when we get back to normal and we actually have access to these again, they are, like I said, they are all allocated for healthcare providers now, but at some point we'll catch up and we'll be able to. So we give each of one of you guys one of those masks. That is a half mask. It's reusable. And it must be fit tested. So I also provide the fit test for you guys. You got to be certified to be able to do the fit test. All 3M sales reps are certified to do so. So basically what a fit test entails is making sure that that mask fits your face properly. And that obviously that's an organic vapor filter that Pat's holding up right now. And that's going to filter out all your contaminants. It does filter out isocyanates, although technically is not legal inside of a paint booth. But it does filter them out as long as you change the cartridge out regularly. Part of the fit test, it needs to be done every 2 years. It is government issued by the ministry, by Ontario government and the Ministry of Labor. It is not a 3M fit test. We are just certified to apply the test. We get a lot of flack sometimes when I go to shops and the shops tell me I'm wasting their time and I'm doing all this, I'm doing all that. I always say, take it up with the Prime Minister. It has nothing to do with 3M. It is a federal allocation thing. So part of the fit test regulations are, and this is the hard part for all technicians, and I'm going to pick on Mohammed here because he's the only one on my screen with a picture. So Mohammed, I'm picking on you. You do need to be freshly shaven. So you're probably going to have a hard time with this one because you got a good beard going.
I can actually tell the difference. Like I have a respirator for welding. Like I can tell the difference when I'm not shaven and when I'm shaven.
Yeah.
Like, there's like I could still smell the dust coming over the top.
100%. Yeah, part of the regulations
You're asking a lot of me.
Good one. Yeah, so that is one of the requirements. You do need to be clean shaven. We need that tight seal around the face. You can't have a goatee as long as it doesn't go under the chin, but around the nose. And that's why you'll see, anyone here knows any firefighters, they always have a mustache. That's the reason. The reason for that is that's in nature of human beings. They need to be rebellious in some way. Well, a firefighter has to be clean shaven at all times because of the way that their mask fits if they're going into a fire, but they are allowed to have a mustache. So that's why you see most firefighters with mustaches. That's their little thing that I'm not allowed to grow facial hair. Well, I'll grow a mustache and away they go. But you do need to be clean shaven when we do the test and to be wearing your mask. If you're not fit tested and you're not wearing your mask, it is a fine for you and the shop owner, just so you're aware. Both get dinged on that one. The shop owner's fine is actually larger. So we want to make sure that there is a lot of COVID beards. You're right, Pat, here. Yeah, that's kind of it in terms of the fit test side of things and the masks that we provide for the Tropicana program. Is there any questions on the masks and kind of how we provide it and so on and so forth?
Do you guys also provide filters?
We do, the initial filters. So after that, but the shops purchase those for you. So we provide the original, what Pat's holding up. We actually, if you want to go to the next slide, actually for me, Pat, we actually provide. I can provide either or. If you're going to get into the painting, we can do the one that Pat just held up, which is the organic vapor. But the one I traditionally provide is the P100, or the pancake filter, which I know it's a small picture, but those little round pink ones that you see on the left-hand side, that's your P. Yeah, that's your P100. So that's your particulate filter and nuisance organic vapor, which Mohammed just alluded to, is your welding fumes. So that will take out your welding fumes and things like that. What it will not filter out are things like isocyanates or strong vapors that usually traditionally come from paints. That's why you need that, I'll call it triangular cartridge that Pat was holding up earlier. That's your organic vapor cartridge. That we can supply that for if someone wants to be a painter. I got no problem supplying that one, but traditionally it's the pancake filter that we originally supply, but shops do cover that expense for the technicians when it comes to the filters, part of the safety protocol. And then, yeah, we're going to get into that one next. Actually, if there's no questions on your basic protection, which we have here, we can go to the next slide. So we actually pointed this one out earlier. Randy showed it in the, actually Dave, I think, was wearing this, if I'm not mistaken. So this is called our PAPR device, our PAPR, which is Powered Air Purifying Respirator. You see these in movies with hazmat people when dealing with contagious viruses like COVID-19 and so on and so forth. But they're also quite prevalent in the automotive world. Unfortunately, up until actually this year, 2020, these were actually not legal in paint booths in Canada. In America and around the world, they have been, but the Canadian rules and regulations are a little more stringent, so they have not been allowed in paint booths. But the government, the Ontario government, I should say, not the federal government, the provincial government of Ontario has actually loosened those rules. So these are actually now legal in a paint booth. So needless to say, they have been very popular. And why they are popular, if you go to the next slide there, please, Pat. So that's basically what the picture prior there was, a self-contained fan unit, which houses a filter that is an organic vapor filter. It does filter out isocyanates. Why they were illegal before is they didn't alert you to when it had stopped filtering out isocyanates. The Ontario government has lessened that ruling as long as there's a change out schedule. So as long as you change that every month, this filter filters out isocyanates, no issues at all. It's just we couldn't alert you to when it stopped doing it. But if you change it out every month, you'll never need to worry about that. So you just keep going. So why technicians love this unit is there is no hose. So the number one complaint about a fresh air or supplied air system is you have to carry around a hose with you, and that gets in the way. It can hit the car. It's heavy. There's a lot of variables of why painters hate it, and I agree with every single one of them. This, however, with no hose allows you to freely move around the booth. But more importantly, because it's attached to you with no hose, there's also a lot of dangerous chemicals and vapors in the mixing room. So now you can wear this in the mixing room while you're mixing your paint, standing over that clear as you're pouring that clear into the cup and breathing all those fumes in, as most painters do now. You can wear this in the paint booth, in the mixing room, and be protected as well. So it's not a cheap unit, and unfortunately, because of COVID-19, these are not available right now. Timing is everything, they say. These are, again, all of our healthcare, serious healthcare products have been allocated for the healthcare frontline service people. So these are going more to doctors, not so much nurses. This is a pretty heavy duty device here, but more so doctors in an ICU unit or things of that nature.
So Peter,
but yeah.
I can just jump in for 1 second.
Yeah.
This is exactly the system that Dave was wearing in the booth. And Dave mentioned that, for students, we would connect you to a fresh air supply, and that's this connection here. So this version that Peter's been talking about, this has been legal for a long, long time, simply because it uses an outside fresh air connection. The version that you see on the screen and that Dave was wearing, this is the one that's recently become legal here in Ontario. And it's awesome for Randy and Dave, as they're in the booth doing training, they can mingle with the students and not get their hoses crossed up. So it actually works out very well. Carry on, Peter.
Yeah, no, and that's a perfect example in the training facility. It's even more prevalent because you have so many people in there interacting, right? But even on a basic shop level, just being able to move freely without having a hose is pretty key. So, that's not a new invention for us. We've been making these for probably 25 years, roughly. They've been mostly sold in in the pharmaceutical world. So chemists making up pharmaceutical drugs. Obviously, they can't be breathing in those drugs, so the fumes from that stuff. So they're wearing one of these. Another popular application for this device prior to being legalized in Canada recently was the mining world. We sold a lot of these into the mines. An engineer, because the helmet that Pat held up is also a hard hat. They would wear that into a mine. So now they don't need to worry about connecting to a fresh air or wearing a separate hard hat. The engineer can throw this unit on, go 5 miles into a mine, being fully protected from any contaminants, but yet being free to walk around and examine the mine as he sees fit. So used in many applications for decades, just newer in the automotive world. In America, they have been illegal in the paint booth for a long time as well. Their healthcare restrictions are way lower than ours for obvious reasons. We don't need to get in a political debate, but basically, to sum it up, free healthcare versus paid healthcare. You get sick down in America, that's your bill. They could really care less. In Canada, if you get sick, that's everyone's bill. We now care more. So we don't want you in a hospital if you're not changing this cartridge out. And let's be honest, I think that's on us to enforce guys changing this, paint technicians changing this cartridge regularly to ensure their safety, right? So.
We have a question, Peter. Hang on one second. Yeah. We have a question.
Yes.
Peter, I just wanted to ask, in regards to the unit, what is it powered by and how long does it last?
Great question. So it's battery powered. So that little, on this picture here, the little part hanging down there, that's the battery. So it is a lithium ion battery that charges fairly quickly at full charge in about an hour and a half roughly. And it lasts about 6 to 8 hours, depending on how continuous the runtime is. But definitely a full work day, because you're not going to be obviously have it on all day during a work day. So it would last a full work day for your traditional use, and then charge it overnight. But a better person to probably answer that would actually be Randy or Dave, because they actually use it regularly.
Actually, I just asked Randy off camera, and he says he can get 6 to 7 hours of runtime out of his, no problem. And it actually covers multiple days of training, because he's only ever in the booth for a couple hours at a time per day.
Right. So yeah. So exactly. Yep. Perfect.
I have a question. Can you guys hear me or no?
Yep.
Okay. My question is, how long do the cartridges last before you have to change them?
Yeah, so that all depends on how frequently you're using it. So the thing with cartridges of that nature, organic vapor cartridges, or carbon, they're basically a carbon filter, is it's all based on usage. So there is no, it lasts, a certain amount of time. It's basically an hour usage thing. So that's why we've said 4 weeks. If you change it out every 4 weeks, you're more than safe. Even if you use it all day, every day, you'll get 4 weeks, no problem out of it, because it is a large cartridge. But that's why you need to change it every 4 weeks. If you're going into that 8 weeks, 9 weeks kind of thing, you're running, it could still be filtering out the isocyanates, but now you're risking it, and it's not really worth, your health isn't worth it, right? So.
Thank you.
I'm just reading a quick question here from Sean. Yes, absolutely. We have all now. Obviously, let's talk pre-COVID-19 scenario. Yes, most of our healthcare products are at places like Home Depot, Lowe's, obviously things of that nature. Obviously, your Napas, your large national automotive places carry all that kind of stuff regularly as well, where you can buy filters locally, no problem. Yeah. And then I one more comment just on a product that we make that, again, Pat and Randy pointed out earlier, was our sun gun. I'll touch a little bit more on that, because that was a good little plug for us. But what's neat about that gun is the number one comment I get on that gun is it looks like a flashlight. Well, yeah, well, because it is pretty much. It's just a really expensive flashlight. But the reason it's an expensive flashlight is it actually represents, replicates 99.8% sunlight. Okay, and why that's important, my paint partners can explain more on that, is paint looks very, very different in sunlight as it does in any other kind of light. And obviously, we're not driving our cars under halogen lights or LED lights or anything like that. When we're driving our cars, it's in sunlight. So customers see that. That's what they see. So very oftentimes under an LED light, your color match might look spot on. You take that car out into the sun and it can look completely different. Because that quote unquote flashlight, it represents 99.8% of the sun. That's where you can get your accurate match inside the shop. What technicians would do in the past is just take the car outside to get a better look at it, to see if it was going to match up. That does two things. One, first and most importantly, that takes time, and time is money in a body shop, so they don't really have time for that. Two, especially being in Canada, we are not in control of our weather. So how many sunny days do we actually have out there? You know, if you're a painter in California, taking your car outside is probably not a problem. It's 22 degrees and sunny every day in LA. You're probably covered, right? But in Ontario, sunlight is kind of precious, so that's where this gun really comes in handy. You can stay in the booth, shine that light on there, and away we go. So it's really really a neat innovation and an invention, another invention by 3M. I think that was about 12 years ago we invented that one roughly. So it's gone over very well in the paint world.
So Peter, I have another prop for you. This is that replacement filter that you were just talking about for the PAPR.
Yep, so that's the organic vapor cartridge right there. So that is the entire unit that sits on the back mounted. So it's a fan basically that sits in front of that. That mounts onto a fan. The fan pulls the air from wherever you are in the environment you're in, pulls it through that cartridge, filters it out, and then it pumps it down in through the helmet that you're wearing on top.
So it's quite a big filter. It's about 9.5 inches wide and probably 3.5 inches deep. So there's quite a bit of filter material in there to answer someone else's previous question on how long it lasts.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Peter, also just about on the filters itself, because I know for like some filters, once you open the packaging, like it has a certain amount of time before it's no longer kind of safe, I guess.
Yeah.
Does this also apply with this too?
Yeah, so that's all part of the type of material that it is, the carbon material. So yeah, great point. That's why they come in foil packs, airtight foil packs. As soon as you open an organic vapor cartridge, it starts working. It's basically pulling contaminants organically from the environment, from the area. But that's all included in that 4-week that 4-week kind of run time of. It's also using a lot less just sitting out in the open, but it is doing it. But once you have it on, obviously now it's forcing all the contaminants through, right? So now it's working extra hard. So that 4 weeks is included in the fact that you've just opened it. Yep.
So as long as you have it in the package, you have a pretty much how long you have until you open the package.
Yeah. In the package, it's sealed. So yeah, you could have that sitting on the shelf for a year in a sealed package, no problem. Yep. Good question.
And just to your point, Peter, I asked Randy to go and get a filter for me, and he said, well, I can't show you the filter because it's in a foil package. So I said, get the old one for me, and that's what he did. He pulled the one that was already in the device. So he wouldn't give me the one out of the foil because he didn't want to open it up because it's not time
once you
yet.
open that up, it starts working, right? So if he doesn't wear that for another month, you wasted a lot of time on that cartridge, right? So. Yeah, and then the next slide I think is, there we go. I put this slide on here. It is for questions, but it's also to show the automotive world. We're not just in automotive aftermarket, which is the division that I'm in particular. We're also in the very starting point of the automotive world. We have a person, he works out of the US obviously, but he's involved with about 6 of the OEMs in actually the design stage of the car. We used to wait for a car to be manufactured and then basically reverse engineer the car and find out if we have a product that could fix it once it gets into an accident. We got smart about 15 to 20 years ago, and we actually have a guy, he has to sign very thick non-disclosure agreements. He can't talk to anybody about anything ever, but he works with these OEMs at the actual design level. So, a car that's going to be coming out in 2020, that's a new design, it was designed 7 years ago. I mean, they work really advanced timing on these cars. He was in on that 7 years ago. So then we get all the specs to that car. We can now develop products for the either production of that car or more importantly to us sitting in this room here, this virtual room, repairing the car. A good example is Cadillacs use a material that we make. It's like panel bond, but it's way stronger than panel bond. And they use it in the strut towers in basically structural parts. So prior to this, panel bond couldn't be used in structural areas because it just wasn't deemed strong enough. So we made a stronger material that can now join dissimilar metals like aluminum and hardened steel. So Cadillac uses this material at the manufacturing levels in the car. So now when that car gets into an accident, it's identifiable by its color. It's a purple, it's a metallic purple color. When that Cadillac gets in an accident and you need to take that strut tower off, you need to replace it with that exact same material, which is a 3M only product. So it's important to know things like that. Honda, Toyota, Dodge, Ford all use a lot of 3M products in their car. The Ford F-150 uses a lot of panel bond because they rivet bond. It's a little stronger when you rivet bond, so they can use that in that aspect when doing aluminum jobs. So yeah, we're involved at basically the base level that sets us up better for the repair procedures once they come into play, so that we have those products aligned better for you guys to use in the repairing of the vehicle.
What is panel bond?
Great question. It's basically, for all intents and purposes, it's a glue, but it's a really, really strong glue. So what makes it unique and why it was invented? Obviously, there's copycats out there now. Our patent ran out about 7 years ago, roughly. But
who's the best copycat?
What's that?
I'm just kidding. I asked who's the best copycat.
Exactly. Yeah. Flattery, the imitation is the finest form of flattery, right? So we're okay with it. So, but what panel bond had, now a lot of them all have it in there now. But what it had in it that was unique to everything other kind of glue was it has rust inhibitors in it. So wherever the panel bond is spread, rust will never be created in that area. So if you cover that bare aluminum fully with panel bond, it will never rust. It also has microscopic, which we would have saw in that video how it worked, but microscopic glass beads. So you can't really see them. You can actually feel them if you grab the panel bond when you guys are in there and you squeeze it tightly between your fingers. You can actually kind of feel it. But those glass beads stop you from compressing that panel too tightly together. Because if it gets too tight, what happens is you squeeze all the glue out. So those glass beads stop it from compressing all the way so that you're not squeezing all the material out. Now these glues, we make this specifically for the automotive world, but we make the same kind of glues in different strengths for applications across all different varieties of landscapes. For example, Bombardier, which is a Canadian company that makes a lot of planes, a very high-tech plane right now actually called the C300. The wings and tail are held on by 3M glue. That's how, if you question how strong the glue is, that's how strong it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
So awesome, Peter. At the risk of this turning into a 3M commercial, I want to show you quickly some of the things that we use here in the training center. So these are Scotch-Brite pads. So this is used in the sanding process. We have all kinds of different grits of sandpaper. This one is 800, so this is very, very fine. We saw the PPS cup with the replaceable liner. So when Peter was mentioning that, painters were tired of cleaning their guns, well, this is disposable, so less cleaning to be done. I showed you the charcoal filter, which is awesome. Artificial sun, 3M glass cleaner, N95 and P95 masks, and 3M tape. We use tons of 3M tape here, as well as the plastic sheeting that Peter was mentioning before. We have polishing compounds. We have all kinds of cool stuff. We have our more thorough respirators, and of course, we have our full PAPR unit. It's probably 7 or 8 different products that I haven't dug up through to show as props, but it just illustrates the tie that binds between 3M and AkzoNobel. We use these products in our training center because I think it's incumbent upon us to train all of the folks that are coming through the training center properly and to show them all of the safety things that they need to adhere to, plus the fantastic products that we use to create, the finished repair that, customers want to see. So, Peter, thank you so much. Are there any further questions for Peter before we move on?
Yeah, I just want to know more about that complete auto body repair system with the vacuum and everything. That looks pretty cool.
Oh,
yeah. Do we have time? We probably don't have time to get into that, Pat, but I could probably cover something off at a later date with the group, I believe, on something like that. That's not a problem.
So I'll just give a quick 20-word synopsis on it. So basically, that little self-contained vacuum unit is solely responsible for controlling dust in a otherwise dusty environment. Should a shop have one or more of these units in place, so it really assists the operator, usually a prepper or a paint technician, sometimes a body technician if they're sanding down body filler. But it really does improve the air quality inside of that body shop environment. So it's a fantastic device that 3M has come up with.
Yep. And just one last bit before I go, it's important to remind everybody too about the relationship between 3M and AkzoNobel. A lot of the procedures that you'll use in the shop, whether it be in the body side or more importantly, also into the prep side leading into the paint, we work very closely with AkzoNobel on our standard operating procedures to ensure that everything is done properly through all the stages. And that's worked both at the Canada tech level and in the US tech level, and then filters down to obviously us, the reps, and then into the body shop. So it is a really hand-in-hand approach with the two companies. So very important to know.
Thank you, Peter. Awesome. I'm going to just unshare my screen here for a second while I queue up Marty's presentation for Carstar. Marty, can you go ahead and unmute yourself and get yourself prepped, please? Marty, are you there? Mr. Marty. All right, Marty, unmute yourself and you are up. Awkward silence. Mr. Marty, are you there, sir?
Marty.
We'll give Marty 1 second here. The joys of video conferencing.
I can now see where Saturday Night Live is getting all their material.
All you have to do is watch 1 or 2 of these a week and it's never ending. Let's see here. All right, Marty.
Are we good now?
Are you there, Marty?
Yes.
All right, you're up.
Okay. Just going to touch on the understanding of estimating. It's a very brief presentation, just kind of scratches the surface. And it's to help you understand the appraisal process, understand why certain decisions are made, the cost impact of these decisions. Oldie but a goodie there. I don't know if anybody knows what that car is. I think it's an old Cordova. So there were no DRP relationships, lots of independent shops. DRP means direct repair program. And what that means is a collision center would get into an agreement with an insurance carrier with the promise of sending them a volume of work and following guidelines and looking after their customers and doing a great job. So that's what DRP means. There were lots of independent and staff appraisers back early in my day. There was no upload technology through Autotex or Mitchell. The best we had was a piece of paper and a pen. And if we were really lucky, we had a Mitchell paper manual, looks like a phone book. And away we went. The insurance companies asked, or the brokers asked, to just drive around with your smashed car and get 3 estimates. And whoever was the cheapest guy, that's who usually got the job. A lot different now. So now, in our current state, we have formal relationships, national contracts. So that would mean that, say, Carstar would enter in with a contract with, say, an insurance carrier, and they would put all our stores on and say, we're going to direct you work, and we would abide by their rules and do a great job for them. DRP networks are similar. They're just not national. They just go with different collision repairs, stores. Again, on the promise, you'll do a great job with the return of volume. Now we have the technology advancements. We have the software, which is Autotex and Mitchell. Back to Pat's remarks there back a while. He was the computer guru. So back in the 90s, Mitchell and I believe it was AP or ADP were the guys that built the software. That's and correct. Now it's quite advanced. Image desks. Most insurance companies now have image desks where people on the other side of that computer are looking at what you wrote, the photographs that were provided, the OE information on how you actually repaired that car, alignment specs, structural measurements. Basically, you're building a photo album for insurance companies now. There are still independent and staff appraisers, but I can tell you it's a handful now compared to what it was 25 years ago. There were over 100 appraisal companies 20 years ago, and now there's, it's probably down to 10 major guys.
You can probably count them on one hand or two.
Sorry?
You can probably count them on one hand or two, the number of independent appraisers left out there.
Oh, yeah, there's not many. And then some of the banner groups also have image desks where we actually look through internally at files before they're sent through for payment to our insurance carriers and make sure they're compliant prior to them seeing them. And again, that comes into the more in check and balances to make sure that what we're sending up is exactly what we did and we can prove it. And the greater emphasis on cost containment because as we know, they want the cars repaired as cheap as possible at the best quality available. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So this is just a quick overview of the claim process where the adjuster gets the assignment. They send that assignment electronically. I only have Autotex in here or Mitchell. Store calls and arranges an appointment with the customer and says, hey, we have an assignment from your insurance company. Can you please come over and we'll have a look at that vehicle, make sure it's safe to drive. We'll take some pictures of it and we'll start to get an estimate together so we can order some parts. And basically when those parts come in, we call the customer and have them come through. That is going to change slightly with the new events in the world. We're building a new process where we're really, we're still going to intertwine with the customer, but not on such a personal basis where we're meeting them face to face. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff virtually going forward. Insure brings back that car and we bring it in for the estimate repair planning process, which goes on from there, and we streamline it through our store. Vehicles have become more complex to repair. Electronics, diagnostic seatbelts, airbag systems. So the car on the left, that's what I used to work on. and the car on the right is what you'll be working on. So two totally different animals. Great cars, but nothing could be farther on how these things are built or wired or anything else. Lots of thought has to go in and research in repairing that one on the right for sure, that Audi. More time is need to be spent on estimates and repair. Resources include repair information, proper technician, diagnostic tools. Yes, this has been a real challenge for our industry in the last, say, 5 years, just because the vehicles have advanced more than, they've basically gone up 50 years in advancements, if you can believe it, from where we were. So when you get a vehicle in front of you that's a late model, you're going to have to research that vehicle to find out what makes it work, what the metal strength is, all kinds of different stuff.
Can I just jump in for 1 sec, Marty?
Sure, bud.
So I've got a couple of really big customers who have very big body shops, and each of these two customers has hired a young person to join the team, the admin team, basically as the go-to guy for digging up all the information on repair procedures and all these things that Marty's just been alluding to. And basically, so it's a brand new position within the industry, and I'm going to call it the admin data guy. And his responsibility is to look up all the specs, all the different high-strength steel repair procedures that needs to go into the actual repair of a car. And you take this BMW that you see on the screen, there's 4 different types of steel in this car, plus an aluminum hood and aluminum deck lid. So there's lots of repair procedures that have to be sourced in order to give to the technicians so they can complete a proper, complete, warrantable repair.
100%. This is really a new position because it is very time consuming and you have to be very thorough. So thanks for that. That is 100%. Okay, so there's just a very plain picture of an Autotex estimate there on the right-hand side, and just a few things. It contains customer vehicle information, the coded lines, choices that'll be made by a repair planner based on numerous factors, vehicle age, policy limits, guidelines. No insurance company writes a sheet the same as the next guy. They're all a little bit different and all have a little bit different rules. It would be nice if they could get together for one, but unfortunately, there's about 25 different rules when you're writing an estimate for any insurance company.
So, and I'll just jump in here for 1 sec, Marty. So when I was an estimator way back in the 90s, the shop I worked at had 10 different insurance companies that we had direct repair relationships with. And our policies procedure manual had 10 different chapters because, to Marty's point, they all had 10 different sets of policies, procedures that they wanted us to adhere to. So it really was a big ordeal to be an estimator way back then. It's even more so now. But fortunately, all these policy procedures are published. So as long as you can have access to the book that gives you the guidelines, you can complete a complete estimate, as you see on the right here, and satisfy the needs of both the customer whose car you're being charged to repair and the insurance company who's paying for the bill.
Correct. Even as far as the photos required for a file. Each insurance company requires, believe it or not, different photos. You would think it's, just your basic 10 photos. There's some that require 20. Some require 15. Some require 45. So again, it's all about research and knowing your customer, namely that insurance carrier, to be successful as an estimator. And again, estimators can change for several reasons, including part prices, discovery of more damage, maybe not exploring those procedures to the extent that you needed to, and you find out that something is not working now. But there's lots of variables when it comes to writing an estimate. Next slide would be great. So estimates can be different in some cases due to overlooked procedures, part choices, lack of knowledge or willingness to research proper repair methods. Preliminary estimates, meaning not a final and maybe not totally accurate, and many times performed for several reasons. Carstar, we do internal audits on our stores just to make sure that everyone's in line. So not only are the insurance carriers checking their work, we are also checking it internally to make sure we always have a safe repair for the customer. And again, without saying, pictures and documents are very important as part of the process to better explain the damage and support the repairs. Again, you are building literally a photo album for insurance companies now. They want to be able to open up that binder and see everything that you did with a document or a photo. So it's quite entailed. Next one. As mentioned earlier, all data is collected and provided, ensured with a clear picture of stores that perform well through KPIs. So key performance indicators, that's what KPIs stand for. So here's an example of just a few of them. There's about 15 more of them, but I just put in a few of them here. Repair versus replace, which basically means it's a ratio on how many times you repair a panel versus replacing a panel. OE parts versus aftermarket, and the LKQ is used parts. Again, there's a ratio for that. Total labor hours on an estimate, I believe right now is around 21.7 hours. Severity is basically a fancy name for the total amount of the repair. And touch time is how many hours per day you work on that car. We also measure that. Very important measurement. There's lots of other ones, but again, we just don't have the time today to go through them all. This is just a quick pic of what we call blueprinting, where we mark on the cars a bunch of different things, the text, any information that we want to communicate to the technicians on stuff that they want to know about this car, or what the due date is out. Lots of information on here. Next one, please. This is a little more detailed, where it actually gets into the repair panels. It's telling the technician what they want off the car, what they want repaired. Sublets on this repair. Again, it's map and blueprinting is what they call it. It's pretty much the industry standard now, compared to when we just used to pull a car into the shop and just start dismantling it, and away we just did whatever we thought we should do. So this controls the cost.
So Marty, I'll just jump in. So one of the primary purposes of this is to visualize for everyone in the shop, what it is we're doing to the car. So any technician looking at this car should have no question marks hovering over his head as to what needs to be done, because we've basically drawn a roadmap to the repair of this particular vehicle. So it's a method that shops have been using for quite some time now to keep the flow of technicians from the production area walking up to the front to grab somebody by the sleeve and say, hey, can you come look at this car? Because most of the answers to any question a technician will have are written in this case, yellow ink on the car. So
correct. You couldn't have said it any better. It keeps a flow of technicians from entering the office to ask you questions all day. I'm not going to get too much into this. This is basically a screenshot of either a management system or a scorecard from an insurance company. And basically it would just have your name on here, which it does. It's Cambridge Carstar. And it has how many vehicles you repaired, 0 to 2,000, 2,000 to 4,000, 4,000 above. And it gives you those KPI scores that I talked about briefly to the right of it. And it puts it in green or red and says, hey, doing a great job here. you might want to look over here. We're going to need to improve this number. So this is when an estimator does his job. This is how he is scored through numbers, and this is how you're rewarded, or you're told you need to improve how you do your estimates. Again, it's a very detailed. Here's another same shot of it, just a little clear. Same thing. They're scoring you on this. This is just some of the definitions on some of that stuff. Average severity, average dollars spent on all the car stores repaired for this period. Parts to labor, total amount of dollars spent on parts divided by the total dollars spent on labor operations. Again, a lot of math involved here. Repair versus replace, kind of what I talked about before. They want to know if you're fixing parts or you're replacing parts. OE parts utilization, again, OEM parts dollars taken as a percentage of total dollars spent on all types of parts, namely the aftermarket and the used part end of it.
Marty,
I'm smiling, Marty, because this is right up my wheelhouse. I love the math behind what we do. I think this is fantastic.
oh yeah, Marty is still out here. We're actually learning the OEM parts right now at Centennial. We're taking a course there.
Oh yeah, okay. Excuse me. So the aftermarket is on here. Whoops. One more thing. If you just flip back there for 1 second. Yeah. Aftermarket parts taken in percentage. Same thing what we're talking about. It's all about math here. That CSI or MPS, as we call it, is a customer service index, which means for Carstar, we ask all our stores to give us their repair orders at the end of the month, and we phone our customers to make sure we're doing a great job, and we score them based on the feedback we get from our customers. And that last one there for cycle time is literally how fast can we get that car through our shop from start to finish. It's kind of an in-between score. There's other measurements, length of rental, they call it. So there's other measurements, but for most part, a lot of guys like to stick with the cycle time. Any questions? Cool. I know it was quick.
Yeah, this is a good time for questions for Marty.
So, Marty, what would you say makes a good technician? Like if you could, instill character traits into somebody that would make them a good body tech, what would it be?
A good body tech?
Yeah.
Well, a good body tech, believe it or not, for these days is the ability to want to learn more every day, because what was good yesterday might not be good tomorrow. You've got to be able to change with the times along with the technology that's coming out from these OEs every day, because there's always something new. So back in the day, they built the car pretty much the same way for years. You didn't really have to expand your horizons on how to repair vehicles. Technicians now coming into the trade, you're going to learn something almost every single day and have to apply it to the next job. So for me, it's all about making that adjustment, getting the training, knowing the products that you're going to need to put on those vehicles, or the welding, the paint. I hope that answers some of your questions.
Yeah, thank you. That's a perfect answer.
I'll add a couple more things. You have to be a bit of a craftsman as well. So I've been in 714 or 15 body shops in the last 28 years. And what I notice when I walk into a shop is the technicians, especially some of the older guys and the new guys coming up as well, they're craftsmen. They actually see a panel with their hand. As they rub a hand across the panel, they're not using their eyes, they're using touch, they're using their feel. And I find that painters especially are very artistic and are definite craftsmen. So that's a quality that helps out a lot, as well as the ability to have that craftsman gene. I don't have it, which is why I've never worked in the production side of a shop. I'm more of a zeros and ones binary kind of guy, not a craftsman. But that's a trait that is very common in technicians that I find.
Yeah, there's
the
definitely
ability
a
to look, like Marty alluded to, is important as well.
Any other questions at all?
Yeah, I was working at Carstar, and they give you the possibility to join them in their university, Carstar. Can you talk us about it?
Oh, Carstar U, good question.
University?
Carstar University.
Yeah, it's a training module that we have for all our stores across North America. And any information that we have, we've built modules for say a CSR, how to do their job, technician, what's expected of them, painters. There's all kinds of information in there on this trade, right down to the painting end of it, to the estimating. I can't even tell you how much stuff is in there. It's a great training tool. Lots of videos, documents.
So Marty, you probably don't know this, but I'll give you a little bit of a historical tidbit. I conducted the very first class at Carstar U back in 2001.
You're right, I didn't know that.
Way back in the good old days.
It's changed a little bit now. It's a little more
I'm sure it has.
advanced, I guess.
Yeah, but we actually had a classroom setting. It was awesome. We had shop owners and managers in. It was fantastic. So much like what we do here at AkzoNobel.
Yeah, it's very similar, yes.
I had a week training with Carstar University at Hamilton in the main location, and it was amazing.
Awesome.
It was amazing.
Any other questions for Marty?
Yeah, I have another question for Marty. I was looking on Indeed and some couple other job sites on salary, and I see like technicians could make about, I don't know, somewhere crazy up to $100,000 to like $125,000. Can you just touch on that? Like, how did you get to that point when you're making that?
You want to take this, Marty, or do you want me to start off?
Go ahead.
All right. So basically, there's two different methodologies behind technician pay. One is hourly pay, where you make an hourly wage and you multiply that by the number of hours, and that's your pay. Another methodology for technician pay is called flat rate. And Marty kind of mentioned this a little bit during his presentation, but basically it revolves around the ability of a technician to use his skills to bank time. So the for instance is the technician is handed a job that pays 10 hours and he completes the job in 7 hours. So he's basically gained 3 hours worth of time. So he starts a second job, and what the technician is able to do is over the course of a week where he spends 40 hours on site, he's able to produce probably 60, 65, 70 hours worth of work, and he gets paid 65 times his hourly rate. So flat rate and hourly are two different pay methodologies, and flat rate guys who are in busy shops, who are very efficient at what they do, to your point, can make over $100,000 quite easily. Our colleague Dave and my colleague Randy have made big money in their work careers, and it's because they were very efficient flat rate technicians back in the day. Marty, you want to add something to that?
No, you hit it right on the head. An hourly guy would not make that.
That's what we're learning about right now as well.
But a flat rate technician definitely would. And each store has a mixture sometimes of flat rate and hourly personnel.
So you may start your career as an hourly person, and as you gain experience and you gain the ability to be super efficient, you may transition to flat rate. So you will make a good living as a hourly technician because those fellas still make really good money. But to make big money, typically you will be in a flat rate environment.
Awesome. And the painter. The painters make more than that.
So any other questions for Marty before we start to wrap? No? Okay. So Marty, thank you so much. Peter from 3M, thank you as well. You guys did terrific presentations. I want to thank Randy and I want to thank Dave, who are just off camera here, for doing the tour with me. Our boss, Fred, is currently engaged on another webinar, so I'm actually giving his closing remarks. I just want to say, thank you all for joining us today. I'd love to see young folks, take an interest in our business. And, you know, as Randy and David and myself have mentioned, we've made a good living in this business. Marty, he would back me up. He's made a good living in this business, and Peter, as a supplier, has done so as well. So any questions or anything that you may have and you want to have further discussions, running everything through Suad. We have a recording of this video that we're going to provide to her, plus links to those videos that we saw earlier that you can see in a more non-jittery format. And, you know, thanks again. I really love the fact that we had so many young folks join us today. And I'm going to hand it over to Suad for the final comments before we call it a day. Suad?
Yeah, thank you so much. We are so grateful to have a community that really supports us, cares and passionate. And we just wanted to say that we cannot wait for you guys to see us in the awards night, graduation night, when we're all dressed up and enjoying and celebrating and just applauding everyone to say, you know what, we did it. We went through the schooling and we're employed. And thanks to you guys, we're so grateful. I just wanted to give everyone, like, if you can unmute yourself, you can give a good say thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you so much. It was amazing to meet you, and thank you for having us.
Very interesting tour.
Yeah,
Field trip.
very much. Eye-opening for sure. And a lot of things that are covered today, we're already studying at Centennial College. So, and we're going to have, we're going to be continuing to do the full time. And we can't wait to see everyone. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we hope to see you like in person soon.
That's right. Post-COVID-19, we want to see everybody in person here at the facility and do a proper tour. And Randy and Dave are super excited to have people in the booth pulling the trigger on the spray guns and doing all the fun stuff. We kind of glossed over a little bit, but we'd love to have you back.
Thank you so much for organizing. This is amazing experience. We're going to post it on our social media as well at Tropicana. So at Tropicana Community Services and Tropicana Employment Center. And we just cannot be more grateful. We will hopefully come back and these young people will contribute to community again, and it will pay forward for sure. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thanks again, everyone.
Thanks, Dad.
Stay safe and have a terrific upcoming weekend.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Have a good weekend.
Do we leave now? Yeah. How do you leave it? Oh, and call. Duh.
So we can leave it right now.
Yes, no, maybe so.